morning, grade 12. Today we are going to do two things, because last week you had a holiday, so we didn't have a chance to study, So today we're going to finish up unit 2. So we're going to look at focus on speaking in our textbook for listening and speaking, and we're going to review unit 2, focus on writing, in our textbook for reading and writing. So we're going to do both, which means it's quite a lot. What I'm going to do is this. Normally we talk about it, and normally I allow you to answer, or I would like you to answer and so on. But the thing right now is that we don't have enough time for that. So I'm going to give the answers, and you guys are also allowed to spontaneously tell me what the answer is. If I have to wait for you to respond and it takes too long, then I cannot finish the material, and I really want to make sure that everything is reviewed today, so you really have an idea on you really understand the material. And you can also after each section ask questions if there's something that is still unclear. Okay, another thing is that I already uploaded in Moodle the unit 2 Google Sheet. So you basically can already look at that one and see which activities you haven't done yet. There are a lot who haven't done a whole lot of activities. So I advise you to look at it and see what you've missed out on. If, for example, your name is yellow, it means your record is not there. If you have done it, it means that your name will appear on the bottom because you're late. If you're doing it now, you will be late. It always appears on the bottom. Okay. When it appears on the bottom, on the left side of your name, so here's your name, and on the left side, you have your score, your result, like how many out of how many. Let's say there's 10, so also maybe you got 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. So if you want to know what the percentage is, you just do it times 100 divided by the number of questions, right? The percentage that comes at the right of your name, I would have to edit that before that appears. Okay, so you can already know your score from the Google form and also from the Google Sheet when it appears at the left. Okay. Now, in that case, then we're going to go straight into unit 2, focus on speaking, which is page 46. If you can open your textbook and go to page 46, that would be great. Okay, here we are, focus on speaking. So we first had the vocabulary review. The review of conceal, finely honed, inflated, mislead, mull over, pervasive, preoccupation, put one over, put pieces together, relentless, and tattling. Okay, so we had to put the words inside the context. So at the beginning, we looked at the words and its meaning, its definition, words with synonyms and antonyms, words in context of a sentence, and now we're looking at words in context of a whole text. And then we'll be working with the words in another setting, in a dialogue or in a context, a different kind of context. Take notes, the art of liar spotting. Okay, is there anyone who would like to annotate for me? Who wants to volunteer to annotate?
Saya bisa, Miss.
Oh, that would be so great because that helps a lot. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's start.
Okay, let's start. Let's see if I can put all 11 on it. Oh, 11 is far down, Okay, not. So we'll just start with this. Okay, most people care deeply about the truth and do not like it when authors. Okay, you can just randomly respond. I'm not going to mention the names because that would take too long. I have to wait for everyone to respond. I cannot do all the pages if I have to wait for people to respond. Yeah, so you can just freely say, respond. Okay, what is number 1? Anyone?
Mislead.
Yeah, mislead. Very good. So most people care deeply about the truth and do not like it when authors mislead them with false information. Therefore, editors and publishers must be. Mislead is with 1 S.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. Must be relentless. They therefore must be relentless in determining whether a non-fiction work is true. They need to check many sources and verify all their facts.
Wait.
Miss, sorry, miss, can I go to toilet?
Yeah. Who's this? I don't know who this is.
Ready.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, miss.
Yeah. Okay, number 3, what would that be? Verify. No, number 3 is finally honed.
Oh. Wait, how do I fix this?
Oh, interesting, yeah. Oh, there is like a, what is that called? There's an eraser? No, I didn't.
Okay. I'll erase it.
I did it already for you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
What was
So,
number 3 again?
3, finally honed.
Wait, what is number 3, Miss Sylvie?
Finally honed.
Finally home?
Finally honed. It's in the list.
Finally. Wait. Home.
No, not finally home. Finally home. HONED. It's,
Wait. Wait.
can you do it? You good?
Wait. I'm having trouble. I keep erasing it, but it won't disappear.
It disappeared already.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, all of it.
It's still on my screen.
Oh.
I think I have connection problems.
Oh, yeah, probably. Do I need to help you out?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Daripada lambat, miss. Sorry.
Oh, you're but you're so good though. You're so helpful. Thank you. So we've got relentless, and then we got finally honed. It's a very interesting phrase. What is number 4, guys? Anyone?
Put the piece together.
Yeah. Put the pieces together. Very good. What about number 5? Inflated. I have to go to number 6. Number 6, anyone?
Pervasive.
Okay, yeah. Pervasive. Guys, if I go to the next part, I have to delete it, yeah, because I can't scroll down. This is just so you know what the answer is, and you can check it with your textbook whether you got the correct one, okay? So 6 is pervasive, 7 is concealed. So we go to number 8. In fact, recent research has revealed the probably less precise visible signs of deception the body's own way. And what do we get? Who would know what 8 is? Anyone? One way of tattling. That's a funny word, yeah. One way of tattling on a person who is lying. And then number 9.
Put one over.
Very good. Put one over. Number 10. Anyone?
Preoccupation.
Awesome. Yep. Preoccupation. And then number 11. The last one, yeah. Mule over. Basically, those are the words. So check your textbook whether you got those correct or not.
What
Yep.
is mull over?
To mull over. Anyone? What is to mull over? Okay, to mull over, if you're looking at the context, means that we're looking at something. It's like going on in your head. Like here it says in the sentence, we're looking at the sentence here. It will be like 5% scientists must now mull over the results since some of the data are inconclusive. Okay. So mull over means that you are thinking of something and that goes over on in your head. So you're really taking time to look over things and to think over things. Does that make sense? So if for example, you want to buy something and you say, I want to mull over it first, you really want to think about it first before you make a decision. Yeah? Okay, we're going to, all clear? Now, go to the next part. A scientist blows the whistle on a colleague. A whistleblower is basically someone who tells on someone else, yeah? Who tells about a secret or something that has happened. Okay, in this case, you've done all this already, so we're just gonna review it quick. Yeah. Read each line of the conversation and write the letter of each of Dr. Sanborn's responses next to Beatrice's lines. The bold-faced words provided clue. So what should come here? Since you've already done it, we can just go over it real quick. Then you listen to the conversation, check your answers, read the conversation aloud. So you had to write down the letter, which one goes with which. So if you're looking at the first one, what's number 1?
D.
Yeah, very good. D. I can't hear. So this is a good response to this, right? What about 2? What is a good response to 2?
A.
Yeah, awesome. 3? That would be B. 4, fess up. 4, what is a good response to 4?
E.
Yeah, very good. And then we are left with the last one, which is C, right? Okay, so these are basically what the right responses are to the conversations. Okay, we go to the next page. Now, how did Beatrice respond to Martin? Who knows the first one? 1 is D. What about 2? Anyone? That's
D.
it's 2 is A. The first one is D, yeah, and then the second is A. The third one is B, and the fourth one we have left with C. Any questions for that one? That is just how one response fits with another using the vocabulary. It's important that you always look at the keywords when you do that to see how something is connected to the other one. Yeah, so how would we know that? We would know that because of the keywords that we can connect. That's how we can know to choose the correct one. All good? Or is there anyone who wants to respond to this? No. Okay. Creating is actually a very important part in this book because creating is it's a part where you basically synthesize, where you use sentences, where you use information and then create something new. It's a very important part, but it's a pity that because this is speaking and we didn't get to do that because we are all at home, right? So for now, today, I would have to skip it. Next time, in our Zoom time, I would like to try it out. But for today, I cannot because I have to combine double material, okay? If you do have questions about it, you can let me know. Anyone who wants to respond to this part? No? This is basically you using, in a conversation, you using the vocabulary. Yeah? It goes back. This is all still using the vocabulary and then responding to it by using the words for this unit. Okay, then we go into grammar. We talked about the models, so the degrees of certainty. You can be almost certain, you can be almost certain with the negative, means with not. You can be quite certain, so, or less certain, not so certain. Yeah, and so we have different models that we use for each expression of degree of certainty. Now it's important that you understand this. Remember that next week on Thursday is the day for submission of your journal and log. And you would have to have finished your ebook activities for ebook listening and speaking, reading and writing. And next week on Thursday, you will have your unit test. Unit test 2 for listening and speaking, unit test 2 for reading and writing. And the material for that one is also already described in Moodle under the heading of unit test. And that means it's the vocab and grammar of the unit for listening and speaking, reading and writing, but also every part. So just study the whole unit, because every part, every section in the unit, you have questions on, okay? Seperti itu. And then for unit 1, please check the Google Sheet in Moodle for unit 1 for listening and speaking, reading and writing. For those who haven't done the post test yet, unit test yet, or maybe any of the ebook activities, you can still do it, okay? Those activities that are the ebook activities, post test and unit test, will not be degraded in score for late submission. The journal and log, yeah, that one will be deducted for being late, but not the rest. But you have to have everything finished at one point, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to make your report, right? By the time I'm going to make your report, if you have not done it yet, then everything you haven't done turns into a 0, okay? And I will advise you on the date later on. Pokoknya, make sure actually next week everything has to be done. So definitely by the end of this month, so definitely by the end of November, if anything is not yet done, that will turn to a 0. So please make sure you've done everything fast. The purpose is everything to be done next week, so you have no homework anymore, right? And you can focus on your exams. That would be the best, of course. Okay, now here is another part of speaking. So I'm just going to go over it with you. Here you have the left column and the right column, and then you would have to comment on it. Now, for example, here, will Thomas be punished for lying to his boss about his work hours? And then less certain, maybe, and then you have to create it. And in this case, they say there's a chance he might even lose his job. So the lesser degree of certainty would be maybe. Yeah. Do you think I'll be able to tell if she's lying by just looking at her? You know, we could answer, for example, you should be able to tell. So should be able to tell. Should be able to tell. You should be able to tell by watching for small changes in her facial expressions. Yeah, I'm just mentioning this for those who already made it. You can check your answers in the textbook, yeah? Number 2, will she be able to conceal the fact that she copied her paper from the internet? Yeah, it's impossible. So we can use can't or couldn't. So can't get away with or couldn't get away with. Number 3, it would be might be a must want, almost certain. I think so. They must want to protect. Number 4, less certain. We can say I'm not really sure. Her friends might be paying, may be paying, or you can say could be paying. That would all be correct. The number 5, quite sure, should be relieved. Usually feels better to be upfront about things. He should be relieved. Number 6, impossible, unbelievable. He just couldn't have deceived. Couldn't have deceived. 7, almost certain, must have cut corners. He must have cut corners. And number 8, which is less certain, but he might have concealed. might have concealed. So please check that. These things come into your test also next week. So you have to understand the grid here about which models go with which degree of certainty. Okay, this is just a matter of you understanding and knowing. Okay. Now, then we go to the next part. That was activity 3. Same here. We have almost certain, which would be yes, she must have. She must have. She looked happy. She must have. And we would write it must apostrophe VE. But that is for speaking. Yes, guys, not for writing, because for writing that is not good. But that is for speaking. We say she must have, because it's what is that? Attached. And then for 2, impossible, no, she couldn't have. She couldn't have. We pronounce this as she couldn't have. Number 3, less certain, could have, might have, may have, been. She could have been, might have been, may have been. Number 4, almost certain. Yes, he must have. Yes, he must have had to. Must have had to. Number 5, less certain. Could have, I'm not sure, but she could have, might have, may have. Number 6, quite sure. Yes, they should have. Number 7, which is impossible, they couldn't have been, so couldn't have been. And number 8, almost certain, she must have known, must have known, must have known. So you have to understand that those contractions are not allowed in writing. Yeah, that is not proper writing. But the reason why it is written like that, like must have known, is because that's how you pronounce it. You would never say, oh yeah, she must have known. No, she must have known. It's all like it's attached. Yeah, like that. Are there any questions about that? No? If you still have some questions and you it goes just a bit too fast, you can just write down the points and later ask me. Yeah? Cool. Reduction of the auxiliary halves. So now this is where we go to, where it becomes a shorter form. So we don't say could have, but could have, would have, should have, might have, must have, couldn't have, wouldn't have, shouldn't have, might not have, mustn't have, might not have, might have, might not have done, mustn't have done. So it's almost as if you don't hear the HA, but more the VE. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That brings us to this part. I think Jose's hair looks awful. I could have given. So in this case, it is could have given. And then, but in the pronunciation, you don't pronounce the HA, you pronounce could have given. Yeah. But that is not for writing, as I said just now. Yeah. So here, Molly would say should have kept. Anton, you shouldn't have said. Molly, he wouldn't have thought. Anton, when you could have said. And Molly, it would have been. Yeah, that is still all on the contractions. So good, or so far so good, or any questions? So those contractions are only for pronunciation and speaking, and not for writing. We get to this part where we still have the would have, should have, could have, might have, must have. So how would you respond? My university just expelled a student when a professor caught him plagiarizing. Oh, wow. I heard about that. The university shouldn't have expelled him. So in pronunciation, shouldn't have expelled him. Yeah. Okay, anyone who wants to respond to number 2? But he was caught. He was cheating. Yeah, but it was his first time. And then? Anyone?
They should have given him another chance.
Awesome. Very good. They should have given him another chance. How do you know it was his first time? Maybe it was just the first time he got caught. That's true. Number 3. He might have. So he might have plagiarized before. Ingat ya, ini harus dirubah juga. You have to adjust the other words in the sentence as well. He might have plagiarized before. Plagiarized with a D. 4, I think the policy is right, but it has caused a lot of distrust between the students and the administration. I know. I think the university, anyone?
Could have done it better. Handled it better.
Very good. Could have becomes could have handled it better with a D, yeah? Like plagiarized, handled with a D. I wonder if the students really understand plagiarism. Well, they, anyone?
Must have heard.
Awesome. Must have heard. Must have heard. So with D, yeah? Yesterday, I decided to do a little experiment. I decided to go for a whole day without telling a lie. Not even the smallest deception. Well, what about 6? Anyone? That shouldn't have been hard for you. That shouldn't have been hard for you. You're one of the most honest people I know. What happened? Well, I was late for my first appointment with a new client. When I told her I'd forgotten about the appointment, she fired me. Huh, this sounds like an expensive experiment. What would we say then? Could? What is this? Couldn't you have said? Couldn't you have said? So I would pronounce it as couldn't you have said? Couldn't you have said that you were in another meeting and unable to leave? Yeah, but remember the experiment? Then Joe asked me to go to lunch and I said no. When he asked me why, I said I didn't feel like listening to his problems. Oh boy. How would you respond? He must have
been.
Yeah, very good. Must have been. So we pronounce it as must have. He must have been furious. I know how I'd feel if someone said that to me. So you lost a client and a friend. What happened next? Well, then I decided I'd better go home and not talk to anyone else. But I passed the test. I didn't tell a single lie for the whole day. Maybe you. Anyone else?
Should have.
Yeah, should have. Maybe you should have started with ED, yeah? Maybe you should have started the experience with a different definition of lie. One that doesn't lead to loss of clients and friends. Hilarious. Love this part. So funny. Anything to say about that, guys, with the question? So this was all going back to the degrees of certainty, yeah? Speaking skill. Okay, seeing multiple sides to an issue. Looking at something from different perspectives, that would be a discussion. Remember, I told you that before. The discussion will look at multiple perspectives, multiple sides of an issue. We often look into a pro and cons, benefits and drawbacks. Well, people might see it this way, other people might see it that way. So you always look at different angles. And so this gives an example of how you introduce an expression and here additional consideration or response. You can add information or maybe you contrast the information, right? So that leads us into, oh yeah, they have no practice yet. Here, yeah, my question is if there's anyone who would like to ask about this. So it is important though, because if you say, for instance, one way to look at blah, blah, blah is to so. Whereas another way could be, so this really shows a very nice way on how you can approach something from different angles. We would say, of course, it depends on, it could also depend on. So sometimes it can just be an added information from a different angle, but both are maybe a positive or both are a negative. But you can also point out a contrast. Now you see that here on the other hand, you could say blah, 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 blah. On the other hand, yada, yada, yada. So you can add to it as in it's all being a positive, or it's all being a negative, but you can also clearly show something which has a pro and a con. The whole point of this is that you're able to look at something from different views, and that is what we call a discussion. Okay? Very important. Okay, in that case, we flip the page to, no, not flip our page, we change our book. We change our book to our textbook for reading and writing. Going to focus on writing. Oh, the serious man. Awesome. We're going to go to page 46. Okay, here we are. Focus on writing. And our vocab here is betrayal, conscience, deception, delusions. Empirical, full proof, get around, outright, plagued by, pretending, and quest. Okay, same similar thing. We're going to place the words in the correct way in our context of the story, of the whole text, which is important because it shows us how to use it, even if you would not really know what the word means, but probably by looking at the context, you would be able to figure out which word would go where. And that is called context analysis, where you're analyzing in context to understand meaning and knowing where to put words. Strangely, a nation first has to remember something before it can begin to forget it. Only when nations turn away from their subjective. What would that word be? Looking at the grid, people.
Delusion.
Maybe a bit louder. Miss Sylvie's ears are a bit. Right?
Delusion.
Yes, very good. Delusions. Okay, there we go again. Delusions. Oh, that's really humongous. Delusions about the past. Can they join with others in peaceful union? The European Union is a convincing example. The nations of Europe fought against each other in two worldwide conflicts in the 20th century. Only after Germans faced the enormity of their past could they stop being, what would be the word? Could they stop being plagued by it? Until the French understood their role in World War II, they could not move on. There is no way to. Another word for avoid?
Get around.
Yep. Basically, the meaning, the synonym is already underneath, right? So you can figure it out. Get around this process. In fact, each nation in Europe, to one degree or another, had to overcome obstacles of its own past in order to build a strong European Union. Confronting the past was a big challenge. This instrument used in this, we're looking for the word of meaning of search. Yeah, awesome. Quest. In this quest for truth was not personal memory, but history. The objective, guys? Do you know? Empirical. The empirical professional study of the past based on facts, proof, and evidence. Yeah. Historians believe in the pursuit of truth, no matter how complex it may be. But history does not make comfortable reading because it shows how we may be fooling ourselves. Anyone? Pretending about the past. It reveals the myths and even complete. Anyone? Complete? No? Outright lies. Outright lies we invent about our countries. Okay, I'm going to scroll up, people. Outright lies about our country. countries. To be a breach.
Betrayal.
Yeah. To be a betrayal of the truth. But without a powerful desire for truth among ordinary citizens, history books can become a simple instrument for political. What is trickery, my friends?
Deception.
Deception.
Yeah. Or deception. The new Europe bounds together, as the historian Tony Judd has written, by the signs and symbols of its terrible past is a remarkable achievement. But there is no sure and certain,
Foolproof.
yeah, foolproof. There's no foolproof way to keep the lessons of the past alive in our,
Conscience.
yes, ma'am, in our conscience, unless they're taught to the coming generations. Okay, any questions? No, we get that. Not that hard. Awesome means. Then we continue. Expanding negative and positive connotation of words. So connotations of words means it's the underlying emotion, the associated feeling or emotion that is attached or associated to a word, which can be positive, negative, but it can also be a neutral connotation. Yeah, if I'm saying to you, I'm blue. If that is a denotation of the words, the denotation would mean that I'm the color blue. The connotation of the word means that I'm feeling, it's a negative emotion, a negative feeling. So from which we can conclude I'm either sad, down, or depressed, right? So a connotation is an associated emotion or feeling attached to a word. Now, it's gonna be, yeah, positive or negative. So manipulate is negative. What about pretend?
Negative.
Yeah, I find pretending a negative as well. But here, finally, they say that pretending can be a positive, whereas lying is a negative. So it's either one, right? So in this case, lying has a negative connotation, pretending has a positive connotation. But to be honest with you, pretense is not nice either, right? If in a test of mine you would say negative, I would have counted it correct. Yeah. But of course, lying is definitely negative. Sometimes the pretense based on what we've learned in this unit can be to be polite. Yeah, you pretend to be hungry because somebody already cooked, but you're actually not hungry. In that sense it is. Okay, number 3, creativity and trickery. So creativity, positive, right? And then trickery, negative. 4, a sleight of hand and magic. A sleight of hand in this case would be negative, magic would be positive. What about 5? Artful and deceptive. Artful, of course, positive, then deceptive, negative, yeah. False stories, told tales. Told tales are not necessarily correct either, but they're still perceived as a positive, whereas false stories are really perceived as a negative. Cover up or throw a veil over something. Now, if you cover up something, people would still feel that's negative, whereas if you throw a veil over something, that's kind of pretending again or covering it up in another way. Throwing a veil of something would be still has a positive connotation. It doesn't mean that the word is a positive, okay? People, don't get me wrong. This is not about the meaning that is positive. It is about the emotion that it evokes. So if you pretend, that still feels as a positive, whereas lying, definitely a negative. If you cover something up, that has a negative connotation. If you say throw veil over it, it's more like protective. That's how you need to see this. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, cool. Then we continue, yeah? Here we circle the word or the phrase that best completes each sentence. Okay, let's take a different color. We're bored with blue. Using reason. Okay, guys, which one is it? Reason, facts, and proof professional students try to
Persuade.
persuade. Now, you can say, Miss Sylvie, persuading and manipulating, isn't it close? Could be close. So if you want to know which has the positive and negative connotation, you look at the sentence. If the sentence shows that it is positive, then choose the word with the positive connotation. If you see that the sentence provokes or shows a negative emotion, then choose the word which has the negative connotation. Okay. In this case, it's still a positive, so we use persuade because persuade has a positive connotation, whereas manipulate has a negative connotation. Some political leaders, others by playing on their fears and ignorance. Ayo. That looks negative, right? So manipulate. Does that make sense? Look at what the sentence, what feel it gives you. Sometimes children like to and say they are prince and princesses. Does it feel negative or positive? Positive, right? Yeah. So we wouldn't say lie, but we would use pretend. Yeah. So you need to look at the sentence, whether the sentence itself gives you a positive or negative connotation. Then you choose the word with the correct connotation. Number 4, what would that be? People often on their tax returns minimize their contribution. Ugh, nakal. Which one is it? Pretend or lie? Yeah, lie. It's a negative connotation. Computer animators use their yada yada to make the writer's stories come alive. Is that a positive or negative connotation?
Positive.
Positive. So which one do we put in?
Creativity.
Creativity. Awesome. See, now from this you can learn, guys, that sometimes we use the wrong word. Sometimes in our writing or even in our speaking, we are actually aiming for a positive connotation and we use a certain word that carries a negative connotation. Maybe in the sense of the denotation, in the sense of the literal meaning, it fits in the sentence. It's not grammatically wrong. Or it wouldn't be weird. No, it would actually be grammatically correct. But it is not portraying the emotion you wanted to portray. Does that make sense? If you're saying, for example, that computer animators use yada yada to make writer stories come to life, and you mean to say it in a positive and you use trickery, you use their trickery to make writer stories come to life. Trickery is not necessarily wrong as grammar in the sentence, but it gives the wrong emotion, the wrong underlying meaning. Make sense? So it is important that we use words that really portray the emotion we want the reader or the listening to get. That's basically why connotation is so important. Okay, number 6, a leader used lies and yada yada to convince us to follow his plan. Which one is that? Trickery, because we had to follow his plan. That's a negative connotation. The performance ends with a yada yada yada. Trick man saws a lady in half. Yo. Magic or sleight of hand? This one is positive though, because it's in a circus or something, right? It's not really sawing her in half. It's just a magical thingy. The gambler used to cheat at cards. Now, if we're looking at the performance, let's say in a circus about a magician sawing a lady into half, that has a positive connotation. It's exciting. So we use magic. But in this case, this is a card game and someone's cheating. So what will we use? Sleight of hand. This is a negative connotation. Teachers have to be very yada yada in devising history lessons that are interesting to their students. Which one, guys? This has a positive connotation, so we would go for
Artful.
artful, yeah. Truth be told, many students dislike discussing history because politicians can be very yada yada in changing history to suit their purposes. Which one, guys? Is this a positive or negative? This is negative. It's deceptive. Okay, 11. At bedtime, parents read their children many yada yada about mythical creatures, animals that talk. That's that. Tall tales. Tall tales. Tall tales. Yeah. Okay. So far so good. Yeah. Awesome means. Now we go to the next page. Dude, this is long. I tell you that. Okay. Next one. A man came into the police station and told aid to the police to hide his crime. That would then be a false story. It's a negative connotation. Some people prefer to yada yada the past of selfish reasons because they have a vested interest in keeping silent about their own role. Is that throw a veil over or cover up? In this case, it's a cover up because it has a negative connotation. Victims may also keep silent and yada yada the past, but for them, it's because the past is too painful and heartbreaking to discuss. This is sad, but doesn't have a negative connotation. Okay, it's a sad situation, but this is still a positive circumstance. So they throw a veil over, and that is not in purpose to cover up or to harm, but that is just out of protection for themselves. Any questions about connotations, guys? We good? Okay. Using double comparatives. Oh, this is important too. There's a lot of you guys who have a hard time writing this correctly, even speaking also. The bigger the neocortex, the more deceptive. So remember that you got the double comparatives correct. Yeah, they have two clauses, each of which starts with a comparative adjective, noun, or adverb. So they're separated by a comma and find the logical relationship. So for example, the more, the more. The less, the less. The more, the less. The less, the more. Okay? We have to have that correct. Now, here we can see, write C next to the sentence that is correct and I for incorrect. So what about number 1? The more informed we are, the more, what is that? What did you say? Sorry.
C.
Yeah. And can you tell me why? Do you know why it is incorrect? It says the most informed we are, the more we can. Do you know what it should be? Okay, the more, yeah, it should have been the more. The more informed we are, the more, because this has to be the same. The more we investigate a problem, the closer we come to finding. Oh, wait, this is not C correct. This is incorrect. Sorry, yeah, I didn't realize. Sorry. My apologies. Yeah, so this is incorrect. And the reason is because you must make it parallel. So you cannot say the most, the more. It should be the most, the more, the more. So the correct answer is the more informed we are, the more we can protect ourselves. 2, the more we investigate, the closer we come to find. That is correct. Yeah, it uses ERRE, the more, the closer. This is correct. 3, the more I think about it, the least.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. This should be the more I think about it, the less sure I become. The more, the less, not the least. The least, no. That would be like, this is a comparative and this would be a superlative. You remember the comparative with ER, big, bigger, and the superlatives, biggest and most. Remember that? So remember as a comparative with a comparative, not with a superlative. The bigger the deception, the greatest. Is that correct? Incorrect. Because this is a comparative and this is a superlative. And you cannot use that. So it's the bigger the deception, the greater the challenge. The bigger the deception, the greater. Remember, this is with ER. This has to be with ER. The bigger, the greater. Not EST, like here. That would be a superlative. Place a comparative with a comparative. Any questions about this? Remember, the comparatives always compare between 2, only 2, and always uses more or ER. Yeah? If it's a superlative, it's always 3 or more. It uses EST or most. That's important to remember, yeah? So you really can avoid making certain mistakes. Are there any questions about this part? This is the story of Erin Brockovich. You can, here you could try it out by using, in this case, we use the more. The longer they waited, the less money they would receive, or the sooner they sold the land, the more money they would receive. The more. And yeah, here you could actually just practice it. Is there anyone who wants to ask about these sentences? No? Now, in that case, I go to the next page, yeah? That brings us to a part of the writing. We're almost done. Yeah, bear with me a little bit more. Give me a few seconds. You're writing an essay, yeah, not an introductory paragraph. So you're really writing a full essay. Is there any question about your essay? No, maybe not yet. The thesis statement is very important. Remember that in your introduction, you give the hook and the background information, and you end your introduction with a thesis statement, which is always the last sentence. It is important for us to be honest with others, because by being truthful, we stop living a lie. That would be the last one. The last sentence is always the thesis statement. So if we look at how does the writer attract attention, we use a hook, right? Number one, a hook, H-O-O-K. So you attract attention by using a hook. Remember that? That's the H of hot. And then we get the O for overview or background information, and then the T for thesis statement. How do you think the idea is developed throughout the paragraph, from the general to the specific, or from the specific to the general? In the introduction? In the introduction, it always is like a funnel. So it goes from general, it's broader, to more specific. Yeah. So in an introduction, it's always starting with a hook, and then from general to specific. And the sentence that will tell the reader what the writer will focus on in the body of the essay is called the thesis statement. It's the last sentence. It's only one sentence. It's the thesis statement that holds the controlling idea, also called main idea. It has the general topic and purpose. It tells us what the text will be about and what specifically will be discussed about that. And then it talks further about introductory paragraph and thesis statement. Continue. We can quickly check this one, activity 3 on page 55. Let's check this real quick, because there might be some of you who have answered this. Read the sentence from the introduction essay, work with a part of the sentence in order, using 1 for the first sentence and 7 for the last sentence, the thesis statement. Write the numbers in the blank. So which one is number 1 though? Probably this one. We often say the truth is stranger than fiction. And then number 3. Number 2, where's number 2? Oh, number 2. Let's look at it later. And then number 3. Where's number 4? 4 is here. And then 5. 6 is here. 3 is here. 7 is here then, yeah? Okay, if we look at it, the first sentence, we often say that truth is stranger than fiction. It could be a hook. Yeah, and then we go to the overview. We may say this because there are so many miracles considered. 3, one day when I was visiting Nora, I wrote 4, 5, 6, and then 7. In my opinion, thinking that truth is relative and that everyone has his own opinion. Truth can be a very liberating force in our lives, allowing us to be more creative and spontaneous. Yeah. This would be the correct order. And how would you know that? By looking at the keywords and the content of each sentence, picking out the keyword and from there connecting and looking for a sequence of how the events really work in the right sequence. Any questions about this? No? Then, okay, I will fast forward this. We have a few more. So here you had to look at the statements, put a check next to the ones that are good thesis statements. So what about number 1? Is that a good thesis statement, yes or no? Number 1?
No.
Yeah, you're correct. Number 1 is not good, basically. Number 1 is not good. What about number 2? No, number 1 is good thesis statement. Number 2, I mean, this one is not a good thesis statement. See, I'm making mistakes here. Where's my eraser? Yeah. So number 1 is a good thesis statement, and number 5 are good thesis statement. Learning to lie during childhood prepares us for our adult lives and higher education, the workplace, and society. A country that cannot confront the truth of its past can never move forward into the future. This is clear. It shows about truth and that we need to move forward. You have 2 clear aspects: learning to lie during childhood prepares for the life. This one is also clear. If we look here at primatologists believe that deception is a trait associated with the development of our intelligence. This is what they believe, and this would come into the body. That is not a clear statement, a topic. This is just a belief that someone has, which would be a correct explanation in the body. Number 3, in this essay, the writer will discuss truth and lying. This is an incomplete thesis statement. It doesn't, it should add something else. It should add a purpose. And number 4, more than 70% of adults interviewed in 63 countries is a detail and an explanation. It's evidence that should come in the body. So basically, out of all of 5, only number 1 and 5 are good. Yeah, how you develop a thesis statement varies, but it's important that it's a clear controlling idea, that it mostly answers the essay question, that it holds the topic and a purpose, that it clearly states what the essay will be about and how it will be developed. Understood? Any questions? No? Okay, let me see what we still need to check. 56. Does the writer spark the reader's interest at the very beginning in this text? In looking for a line, no, it does not. It doesn't really spark interest. Does the writer go from broad general statements to specific statements? Anyone wants to answer? No, also, it doesn't. Does the writer have a thesis statement? Yes, it does. It is lies can serve a higher truth. Yeah. Looking for the lie. But he doesn't have it in the correct. Yeah, here come. Lies can serve a higher truth. That is the thesis statement. So that one is there. Okay. Work with a part of it. The statements write yes next to the ones that would be good hook and would serve as an inspiration. Write no next to the ones that would not be a good hook. So is it a good hook or is it not a good hook? Number 1, is it a good hook? Which one is bad? Number 2 is bad. Let me see. Number 1 is good. Number 3 is good. Yeah, you see that? And then looking at 5. Number 4, is that a good hook? Yes. 5, yes. These are good hooks. Look at it because you're going to write them. So it's important that you understand that. Any questions about that? If you say all through history people have told lies, that is not really a hook. That doesn't really bring people in, that they're interested in listening to what you have to say. Yeah. Okay, last but not least, I will mention this quick for those who have answered it. I just want to make sure that everybody can check their answers. Yeah, this is about the text here above. What happened in the moment of truth mentioned in the hook? The writer told her friends that others did not like her because she was too fat and did not look good. Now you can check your answer. Number 2, how did it make the writer feel? It made the writer feel terrible. What is the link between these general statements and the specific opinions of Hennig and Twain? That is why this discussion about truth and lying in response to the writing of Robin Marans Hennig and Mark Twain interests me. That is the link. To go from one to another, that is what the person wrote to link it. More specifically, how does the writer compare Hennig and Twain? The writer says that both Hennig and Twain agree that sometimes lying is necessary. And what is the thesis statement in this text? Lies can serve a higher truth. That is the thesis statement. Lies can serve a higher truth. Okay, we went through everything. Anyone maybe who would want to ask something? This week we are at the 2nd of November. Last week you didn't have a post-test. For speaking, you didn't have post-test. But today I saw that some of you did it already, but there were still a lot of you who haven't done the post-test 2 yet, so please do fast. And for Unit 2, I saw still a lot of students who didn't do the ebook. So please work on this fast. For you this week, for your project, work on your journal. There is no pre-study because next week is submission week for tasks and for your unit test. So there's only a post-study. So please look at your ebook for reading and writing and do the activities for unit 2. Focus on writing. Yeah. Okay, then that's all for today. I will wait for the class secretary to give me the notification on attendance. Thank you very much. Have a great week. God bless you, and I'll see you next week. Okay?
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Miss.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
Miss.
guys.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss.